Single dad CEO hires a clown for his daughter's birthday. What he discovered will change everything. Jake glanced at the shimmering skyline of Chicago, the towering buildings reflecting his meteoric rise as the youngest CEO in the tech world. But as he set up for Lily's birthday, the lavish party felt like an illusion masking the void he couldn't ignore. The ticking clock reminded him that despite his corporate success, he was often absent, lost in spreadsheets and meetings while Lily giggled alone in the vibrant world outside. He yearned for her birthday to be magical, special, a day she'd remember forever. As the sun crept up on the horizon, he filled the backyard with colorful balloons and sparkling decorations. He had hired Charlie, the famous clown known for his outrageous antics, to bring joy and laughter, a childhood staple that Jake thought would fill the gaps in their lives. His heart raced with anticipation. Today was the day he would bridge the gap between being a father and being a CEO. When Charlie finally arrived, the energy shifted. The clown erupted into the backyard with a burst of color, his bright wig and oversized shoes mismatched, but his smile was warm. Jake watched as Lily's eyes lit up, her laughter echoing in the air. It was a beautiful moment, yet as Jake observed the neighborhood kids, a sad reality began to seep in. An innocent voice piped up, asking Charlie why he dressed as a clown. "Because laughter is free," he replied, chuckling. But then the questions turned sharp, filled with unintentional weight. "Mr. Jake, why do some kids have so many toys while others barely have one?" Their simple curiosity tugged at Jake's chest, a stark reminder of the world outside his high-rise perch. The laughter dwindled, turning into an uncomfortable silence. A child asked Charlie, "Why can't we all just be happy like you, Mr. CEO?" The question hung heavily in the air, igniting a storm of doubts in Jake's mind. He had spent years climbing corporate ladders, sacrificing precious moments. Was the pursuit of success worth the price he paid his own daughter? Then, chaos erupted. A mishandled balloon animal burst in the heat of laughter, piquing a misunderstanding that saw kids tear off in different directions. He looked at Lily, whose wide, tear-filled eyes sought comfort in his, but the magic of the day felt like it was slipping away. In that silent moment, Jake faced a truth that struck deeper than any boardroom deal. Real happiness wasn't in the toys or the tech, it was in connection, love, and community. How could he show Lily the essence of joy if he was constantly chasing accolades in his corporate fortress? And there was Charlie, standing awkwardly amidst the chaos, tethered to hopes that mirrored the children around him, bringing joy to those who maybe didn't have much else. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Desperate to reclaim the joy, Jake knelt beside Lily, but the moment too late. An unexpected fit of anger for failing to connect bred more misunderstanding between them. Her tears fell, splashing on the grass as Charlie dropped his jovial facade, realizing the human need behind the giggles and smiles he brought to life. Jake's heart raced. He had to bridge this gap, to really connect with Lily, but how? The party held its breath in an awkward silence as Jake stood, torn between the corporate trophies behind him and the emotional values blooming right in front of him. How would he shape the day, the moment, the future? And as that question loomed, Jake felt the weight of his choices hanging like a pendulum, awaiting his decisive move. Would he step forward, or be swallowed by the fracture he created? The answer was closer than he thought, hidden in the laughter and tears that filled the air. Jake's breath hitched in his throat as he knelt beside Lily. Her small frame trembled, her bright blue dress a stark contrast against the vivid greens of the grass. He felt as if he were standing on the edge of a cliff, peering into an abyss filled with uncertainty and regret. The chaos of the party blurred around him, laughter turned to barely hushed whispers. "Lily," he murmured, reaching out to brush a tear from her cheek. "I'm so sorry. I just wanted today to be perfect for you." Her sobs shook him to his core. But it's not, she choked, the innocence of her disappointment piercing through Jake's carefully erected walls. At that moment, he saw beyond the birthday decorations and gleaming gifts. All the tech gizmos and the accolades nobody cared about. Just Lily. Just them. Charlie shuffled closer, his bright nose seeming less jolly now, more a sign of how skewed their world had become. "Hey, you two," he said softly, knelt down on one knee. "When things go sideways, sometimes it's just a sign we need to laugh it off. Like when I trip over my own feet." He mimicked a pratfall, tumbling sideways, and though it was forced, a glimmer of laughter broke through Lily's frown. Jake realized then he had been too focused on achieving the grand spectacle, thinking that would fill the space left by his absence. Part of being a father wasn't just about grand gestures but understanding the quieter needs, like a hug or just being present. Lily turned to Jake, uncertainty flashing across her face. "I want to go to the park, with you. Can we do that?" The request struck him like a lightning bolt. A park? No frills, no elaborate plans, just a space to be together. He felt that heavy weight lift a little. "Of course," he replied, his heart swelling. "Just us." "Just us," she echoed with a hint of hope in her voice, and her smile began to crack through the tears. Suddenly, where there had been confusion, clarity emerged. He rose to his feet, determination building inside him. He waved Charlie over, a mixture of gratitude and newfound camaraderie bubbling up within him. "Charlie. Can you tell everyone we're heading for a mini-adventure to the park? Let's make it a fun expedition." Charlie's face broke into a grin. "A treasure hunt at the park?" The response was enthusiastic, his spirit lifting with the shift in energy. The kids perked up, their initial trepidation replaced now with curiosity, and soon all attention turned to their new, exciting destination. As the crowd of children, followed by Charlie and a now bright-eyed Lily, began to move toward the park, Jake felt an unfamiliar thrill. It was exhilarating to surrender the rigidity of plans for spontaneity, the freedom of letting their laughter outshine the lavish decor he had meticulously crafted. With every step, Jake thought about the lessons he had overlooked. He had always been a planner, driven to prove his worth, but now he knew he needed to be the dad Lily needed. He looked down at her, her eyes sparkling like diamonds, and the grip of joy he felt threatened to overwhelm him. When they reached the park, the world opened up. There were swings to conquer, slides to rocket down, and a sprawling green for running. Jake heard the clamor of voices and laughter wrapping around him, flooding his senses with delight. Lily sprinted toward a playground feature, her laughter carrying over the sounds of nature and play. Jake couldn't help but grin. What was all that wealth and success if it didn't include moments like this? He jogged after her, excitement igniting his soul, ready to participate. As they played, Jake noticed Charlie engaging the other kids, spinning tales with exaggerated gestures and wild expressions, pulling them into a world spun from pure imagination. It was beautiful to witness, a reminder that joy had a way of transcending the ordinary, igniting connections. When Jake caught up with Lily, he pulled her into a hug, their moment expanding beyond time. "This is what it's all about," he whispered. But the weight of realization bore heavily on his mind. A promise formed like a flicker of light, illuminating the shadows. How could he transform his life's pursuit into a balanced dance of love, career, and family involvement? And would this newfound clarity endure beyond today? As Jake watched Lily play, a question knotted in his heart: how could he not just be present today, but build a future filled with these treasures? The journey had only just begun. Lily raced toward the swings, her laughter ringing like bells, carefree and bright. The park was an explosion of color, yellow daisies dancing in the soft breeze, children dashing from one playground feature to another. Jake's heart swelled as he watched Lily's happiness unfold. It was infectious, pulling him into a joyful rhythm he had almost forgotten. "Come on, Dad!" she squealed, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she leaped onto the swing, legs pumping with newfound energy. Jake stood for a moment, taking it all in. This was the heartbeat of childhood, the messy, unplanned moments that sparked connection and joy. He grabbed the adjacent swing and plopped down. With each push, he felt the tug of responsibility ease, replaced by a simple desire to enjoy life's little pleasures. Higher. I want to touch the sky. She shouted, her voice a melody that sliced through his lingering worries. That desire struck a chord deep within him. How often had he let work overshadow these moments, the thrill of the ordinary that made life extraordinary? Each swing of the pendulum was a reminder of how far he had strayed. He pushed with all his might, sending Lily soaring higher, her giggles cascading into the endless blue above them. Suddenly, amid the laughter, Charlie appeared beside him, holding a mobile puppet theater. Impromptu performance? He joked. Step right up for a show. With theatrical flair, he began to create eclectic characters, a lively rabbit, a wise old turtle, all vibrating with enthusiasm. The group of kids quickly gathered, eyes wide with wonder. Jake leaned back on his swing, a smile spreading across his face. Charlie was alive, and so were the children, captivated by his storytelling. It reminded him of another kind of magic he once chased, one of joy and connectivity. It hit him, he didn't always need to have it all figured out. Sometimes, being along for the ride was enough. As that thought settled in, he caught Lily's gaze. She was watching the show in rapt attention, her hands gripping the swing's chains tightly. In that moment, he felt an undeniable urge to share his world with her, to teach her that balance was a dance, not a destination. Hey, Lily! He called, a playful glint in his eye. What do you think about being my co-star for an act? Her face lit up, and Jake felt a jolt of energy. He jumped off his swing and grabbed her hand, leading her toward Charlie. We'll show everyone what our adventure looks like. As they stepped into the spotlight of laughter, Jake felt the allure of vulnerability. They were a team now, a father and daughter, ready to tackle whatever they faced together. Charlie wrapped them in his stories, layering memories that would be cherished forever. The performance was a chaotic symphony filled with laughter, silly voices, and genuine joy. After the show, Jake planted himself on the grass, exhausted but elated. Children dispersed, chasing each other with remnants of laughter still echoing. Lily flopped down beside him, breathing heavily, her cheeks pink from excitement. That was amazing. Can we perform again? Absolutely, Jake replied, pulling her into a side hug. He suddenly wanted to redefine everything, his work, every moment he stole at the expense of family. But remember, this isn't just about performing. It's about being alive, being with the people you love. His words hung in the air, layered with a weight of intention. With each breath, he felt new clarity wash over him. He wanted to create more spaces like this, where joy ruled. Just then, Charlie ambled over, a glint of mischief still dancing in his eyes. I have a great idea for our next adventure, but it involves a little bit of a twist. Jake raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. What do you have in mind? And with that, the spark of discovery ignited once more, leaving Jake to wonder what exciting mysteries lay ahead. Jake leaned back, the weight of the moment settling around him, tinged with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Charlie's sparkle of mischief was contagious, and he found himself wondering what this next adventure could look like. So, what's your idea? Jake asked, itching to know. Charlie grinned, his eyes narrowing as he leaned closer. How about a talent show? We can invite families from the neighborhood. Everyone can showcase their hidden skills. At first, Jake hesitated. A talent show meant more than just a performance, it would require planning, and that connected to the kind of work he usually tried to escape. But as he glanced at Lily, face lit up with enthusiasm, he couldn't help but feel that familiar tug of joy pushing him forward. Okay, let us do it. A talent show for everyone, Jake affirmed, his voice firm and bright, matching Lily's excitement. Awesome. Charlie clapped his hands, eyes gleaming with energy. We'll need posters, a stage, snacks at LLB Epic. He moved back, already thinking of ideas, as Jake felt a rush of anticipation rise within him. In the days that followed, the park transformed into a colorful hub of activity. They put up handmade posters with bright markers, each adorned with wacky drawings and catchy phrases. Jake watched as neighbors gathered, many he had barely known until now, buzzing with excitement. The park's central space morphed into a vibrant stage, decorated with streamers and twinkling lights. Lily threw herself into the preparations, practicing singing and dancing with the other kids. She even came up with a routine that involved her favorite songs. Jake marveled at how this experience was pulling everyone together, encouraging connections he wouldn't have guessed existed. As the talent show day drew nearer, Jake found himself busier than ever, juggling work meetings and rehearsals. Yet each evening, he returned to the park, inhaling the sweet scent of blooming flowers while watching the children practice. Their bright laughter echoed under the sunset, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Finally, the big day arrived. The crisp morning air was filled with unwavering energy, and the park buzzed with anticipation. Tables were set, balloons danced in the gentle breeze, and families arrived, bringing baked goods and friendly chatter that reverberated throughout the area. Lily darted back and forth, her excitement tangible. Jake felt a swell of happiness at seeing how community and family intertwined in this single event. "It's going to be wonderful," he whispered to himself. He was about to step out of his comfort zone, embracing the vulnerability that came with sharing not just a performance but a piece of his heart. As the talent show kicked off with a chorus of claps and cheers, Jake's chest tightened. He remembered the darkness he had faced in his life, the emptiness that sometimes tried to creep back in. Yet, here among familiar faces, he felt a sense of belonging grow. Watching Lily take the stage, beaming with confidence, he knew he was witnessing something profoundly enriching. But then, as moments turned into acts each louder and more vibrant than the last, Jake caught a glimpse of something unexpected at the back of the crowd. A face he recognized but had wished to forget. His heart raced as memories flooded back, taking him by surprise. He couldn't shake a feeling that today was more than just a celebration. What would happen now? Would this moment shatter the joy he had built, or was there something more behind this unexpected appearance? As he held his breath, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, and Jake braced himself for whatever revelation awaited. The atmosphere flipped within seconds. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as his gaze locked onto the familiar face. It wasn't just anyone, it was Mark, a figure from his past he had tried so hard to leave behind. Mark stood there, arms crossed, watching the lively scene unfold with a mix of disdain and curiosity. Lily's performance blared on the stage, yet all Jake could focus on was Mark's piercing stare. Memories cascaded like a flood, arguments, disappointments, the betrayal that had left scars deeper than he ever wanted to acknowledge. It hadn't just been the end of a friendship, it had felt like losing a part of himself. "Hey, Dad! Look!" Lily shouted, breaking through Jake's spiraling thoughts. She executed a twirl and landed gracefully, her face glowing with joy and the audience erupting into applause. Jake couldn't help but smile, even as he fought against the tightness in his throat. Mark's expression didn't change. He was a specter shadowing this moment, and Jake wondered why he was here now, after all this time. Hadn't he moved on? Didn't things between them die along with their friendship? The performances continued, and Jake forced himself to return to the moment, cheering louder for his daughter, hoping it would drown out the anxiety clawing at the edges of his mind. Yet, every laugh and cheer amplified the tension inside him, and he caught glimpses of Mark chatting with a few neighbors, nodding at their compliments. Feeling a sense of duty mixed with trepidation, Jake slipped away from the crowd, seeking some air while keeping an eye on the stage. He needed to process this, to confront what was bubbling back to the surface. Adrenaline pumped through him as he walked past cooking tables and colorful decorations, desperately searching for a moment of clarity. That he found a small alcove under an old oak tree, the gentle swaying of branches above a contrasting comfort to the chaos in his heart. Leaning against the rough bark, he tried to breathe, but his thoughts wouldn't settle. Why now? What did Mark want? Was he here to disrupt the joy Lily shared with everyone? As the show went on, Jake noticed a group of parents huddled in conversation. They glanced at him every so often, eyes flicking back to Mark. A knot twisted in his stomach. He could feel the weight of the neighborhood's unspoken words had they known about their history. Did they pity him, uneasy about conflict in front of their children? Jake. Charlie's voice broke through his spiraling thoughts. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Yeah, just thinking, Jake replied, forcing a chuckle that barely masked his distress. You should get back to watch Lily. She's amazing. Jake nodded, grateful for his friend's distraction. They returned to the crowd just as Lily finished her song, arms raised, sparkling with pride. Then, she spotted Jake, catching his eye amid the applause, and winked. Whatever was happening with Mark would have to wait until after this moment. Jake felt a surge of determination. He would not let his past shadows extinguish the light of today. He stepped back into the warm crowd, clapping, cheering, engulfed by the energy of love and laughter. But as the next act started, the unmistakable sound of laughter turned suddenly into a gasp from the crowd. Jake's heart raced again as he turned to see Mark striding toward him, purpose in his step. The air hummed thick with tension. Lily glanced back, and for a fleeting moment, the joy of the day hung delicately in balance. What could Mark possibly want after all this time? Would Jake have to confront the demons of his past in front of his daughter? The answer loomed just out of reach, and with it came an unsettling thought: was this celebration about to take a twist he never anticipated? Jake could feel the air grow heavy, like the calm before a storm. Mark stopped just a few feet away, eyes locked on him with an intensity that made Jake's skin crawl. The chatter around them muted, the laughter and applause all but fading into the background. Jake, Mark said, his voice low but unmistakable. We need to talk. Jake's heart raced. This was not how he envisioned his daughter's celebration going. Now. Here. He replied, trying to keep his voice steady, but it trembled slightly. Yeah, here, Mark shot back, his gaze unwavering. It's important. A flash of anger surged through Jake. Important? After all this time? This is Lily's moment, Mark. You really think this is the right time? Lily was still on stage, blissfully unaware of the tension swirling just out of sight. The next performer, a local magician, was preparing to captivate the audience, and all Jake could think of was protecting the joy she radiated. Let her enjoy her performance, Mark said, finally softening his tone. I won't take long. But you need to listen to me. Please. Jake glanced back at Lily, her animated movements bringing sparks of joy that flickered like fireflies. He couldn't allow Mark to dim that light. Fine, he said, taking a step away from the stage, letting the crowd swallow them in a wave of color and laughter. They walked a few paces until they were shielded from the view of everyone. Mark leaned against the rough bark of a nearby tree, looking suddenly tired. Jake couldn't help but notice the lines etched around his eyes, the weariness in his posture. I know this brings up a lot for you, for both of us, Mark began, pushing his hands into his jeans. What do you want? Jake snapped, frustration boiling just beneath the surface. You disappeared when it mattered. Now you're back. Mark hesitated, the memory of their past lingering in the air. I wasn't right. I know that now. I thought I could leave it all behind. Jake shook his head, disbelief washing over him. You thought. You left us, Mark. You hurt everyone. Do you have any idea how long it took for me to move on? Mark took a deep breath, his gaze faltering for a moment. I know. I regret it every day. But I'm not just here to dredge up the past. I'm here because I need your help. Jake's heart skipped. Help. The weight of those words carried 1,000 memories and burdens. Why would I help you after everything? Because, Mark replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Because I just learned I'm going to be a dad. The words hung between them like a sudden storm cloud. Jake blinked, processing the implication. A flood of surprise mixed with a flicker of anger twisted inside him. What? You have a kid? Mark nodded slowly. I didn't plan for this. But it's happening. I was hoping maybe you could give me advice. I know I have a lot to atone for, but this is about my child now. The revelation hit Jake like a punch to the gut. His feelings were a tangled mess, betrayal battling against a strange sense of empathy. He couldn't comprehend what Mark was asking for. You think you can just walk back in after years and play the concerned father? You think a few honest words are enough? Maybe not, Mark admitted, looking defeated. But I need to learn. I want to be better this time. Jake glanced to the stage, where Lily was laughing and clapping, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil just steps away. Could he genuinely forgive Mark? Was it right to even consider putting his daughter in the middle of this? Consider it, Mark added, desperation creeping into his voice. Please. I don't expect immediate forgiveness, but maybe we can find a way to coexist. Jake felt the ground beneath him shift. How could he possibly reconcile the past with the present? As both men stood in the shadow of the oak, the laughter from the party blurred into an unsettling silence. Would he choose to allow Mark back into his life, or would he keep the doors firmly closed, keeping Lily safe from the pain of reunion? The weight of that decision lay heavily on his shoulders as he searched for an answer. Before he could respond, a sudden commotion erupted from the crowd, a loud pop, followed by gasps. Jake's heart dropped as he spun back toward the noise, dread tightening his chest. What had just happened? Little did he know the shocking revelation that awaited them both. Jake's heart raced as he turned back to the festival. A crowd of startled faces painted a picture of confusion and fear. He could see parents clutching their children tightly, and the magician, once poised with his colorful props, now stood frozen in place. What was that? Jake whispered anxiously, gripping Mark's arm. Let us go, Mark urged, his eyes scanning the area. Jake took a step toward the sound, but fear clawed at him. The celebration was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but now it felt like the air was charged with something dark. As they pushed through the crowd, Jake's thoughts flickered back to Lily. He caught a glimpse of her peeking out from behind the stage curtain, her eyes wide with concern. The moment felt suspended as Jake's stomach knotted. Lily! Stay back! He called, his voice urgent. I'll be right there. Mark instinctively moved closer to Jake. She needs to be safe. You stay with her, he said, as if to comfort both Jake and himself, but Jake felt torn. Should he focus on protecting Lily or confronting whatever had disrupted their day? I can't just leave. Look. Mark interrupted, pointing toward a cluster of people. In the center, an older man was standing up, shaking his head. It's just a balloon popping, Mark said, relief washing over his face. But it startled everyone. Jake sighed, absorbing the moment. He turned to Mark, conflicted emotions bubbling to the surface again. Even so, when I thought something seriously wrong had happened. His words trailed off, and suddenly the weight of their conversation returned. I just want to protect her. That's what this is all about, Mark, Jake said, his voice hoarse. I know, Mark replied quietly, and I get that I've failed, but I want to be involved now, for my kid, he emphasized, fighting back a wave of vulnerability. Your kid, Jake repeated, the words heavy on his tongue. It felt surreal to hear Mark say that, as if the world had turned upside down. Suddenly, a cheer broke through the crowd. Jake looked back toward the stage. Lily, sensing the tension had faded, was now clapping joyfully at the magician's antics that resumed. See? She's okay, Mark said softly. Maybe this is a sign, Jake. A sign. The irony didn't escape him. Just when he thought things couldn't get more complicated, they somehow did. He watched Lily laugh and dance, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around them. But was he really ready to let Mark into her life again? What if it isn't a sign? What if it's just a distraction? Jake's voice barely rose above the chatter. Mark lowered his gaze, searching for the right words. What if our kids deserve better? What if they could have a relationship despite our past? Jake felt a heaviness settle back in his chest, battling the ghost of hope. But a connection still flickered between them, fueled by the love they both had for Lily. Then out of nowhere, an idea struck Jake. You want my help? Show me you can make a change. Be involved and earn this chance. Mark's expression brightened momentarily. I can do that. Just give me a shot. Fine. But if I ever think you're going down a path that hurts her, Jake warned, his voice steady, I won't hesitate to cut you off. Understand? Mark nodded, determination dancing behind his eyes. But just as the moment seemed to reconnect them as co-parents, another pop broke through the festivities, louder this time. It wasn't a balloon. The crowd gasped collectively, and this time, dread washed over Jake anew. As they turned back, Jake's pulse quickened at the sight of something out of place, something that should never have been there. What he didn't expect was about to change everything yet again. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he focused on the commotion in the distance. The scene that followed was surreal. A small figure, a shadow obscured by the festivities, lay motionless near the edge of the festival area. Panic erupted in waves through the crowd. The jubilant atmosphere had shifted once more, morphing into something chaotic and fear-driven. Stay here. Jake commanded Mark, in a voice sharper than he intended. Before he could think it through, he pushed through the throng of festival-goers, his heart pounding at an alarming rate. Jake! No! Mark's voice chased after him, but Jake was already moving, propelled by an instinct that had suddenly become overwhelming. As Jake edged closer, distorted sounds filled the air, screams, shouts, and gasps. The crowd had formed a semicircle, and he found himself straining to see through panic-stricken faces. The closer he got, the more urgent the whispers grew. Is she okay? What happened? Call for help. His mind raced. Please let it not be Lily. Please let it be anyone else. Pushing through, he finally caught sight of what lay ahead, and the sight twisted his stomach. A teenage girl was sprawled on the ground, her pale face contrasted sharply with her vibrant party dress. A small crowd hovered around her, some shielding their children's eyes, while others watched in horror. Step back. Give her some space. An older woman's voice rang out. Someone was attempting to direct the chaos. Jake clutched his chest, taking a shaky step back, trying to process it all. Someone help her. Please. He pleaded as a knot of reporters quickly formed at the periphery, borrowing voices from the outcry. In that moment, everything blurred: the laughter, the magician, the music. It all faded into a dull roar as Jake's focus zeroed in on the innocent bystander who lay there. He fought against the rising sense of panic, knowing all too well that the innocence of every child there could be threatened if this escalated further. Suddenly, he felt a familiar hand on his shoulder. It was Mark, standing just behind him, eyes wide. What the hell happened? He was slightly breathless, and Jake could hear the tremor in his tone. I don't know, Jake whispered, feeling the weight of dread bear down on him. Maybe someone lost control. He couldn't finish his thought. The sound of sirens filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. The deeper fear creeping into his heart was that the earlier balloon pop had been only the beginning. This was different. This was all wrong. He felt his pulse quicken, not just from fear but from the suffocating instinct to protect Lily. She was still watching from a distance, face glazed with confusion and concern. We have to get her out of here, he exclaimed, urgency surging through him. She can't stay in this. Mark met Jake's intent gaze and nodded, the same sense of urgency coursing through him. Right. Let's get her. Both men turned to make their way back through the crowd, inching forward like soldiers in a battlefield, hearts pounding against their chests, but as they weaved through the chaos, a chilling thought clawed at Jake's mind. Was their past unraveling in front of them even bigger than this moment? And what if this was a sign that things were about to change in ways he could never have anticipated? Suddenly, a new sound cut through the panicked murmurs, a child's scream. Lily! Jake shot back, dread seeping through his veins. He dashed toward the stage, where he had last seen her, praying he wouldn't find a nightmare waiting. What he found would challenge everything they thought they knew about their lives and force them to confront an even darker truth than they ever imagined. Jake's heart raced like a wild stallion as he pushed his way through the throng. Faces blended into a blur, voices twisted into an unintelligible jumble. All that mattered was Lily. Please let her be okay, he muttered under his breath, each step feeling heavier than the last. The clamoring crowd felt like a shifting tide, pulling him further into the chaos. He spotted the stage ahead, the bright banners fluttering in the wind, but the vibrant colors felt muted. Then he saw her. Lily stood frozen near the edge of the group, her small frame trembling, eyes wide with terror. Jake felt his heart drop. She didn't just look scared, she looked lost like a little bird separated from the flock. Lily! He shouted, pushing through the last cluster of people, his voice slicing through the cacophony. She turned at his call, her expression shifting from confusion to relief. Daddy! The sound of her voice was the sweetest music, but it was laced with fear. He reached her in a heartbeat, kneeling to her level. Hey, baby, it's okay. You're okay. He scooped her up into his arms, feeling her small body shake against him. The world around them faded away as he held her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. What happened? She whimpered, her hands gripping his shirt tightly. I heard a lady scream. She was hurt. Jake glanced over his shoulder. The commotion had not settled. In fact, it seemed to pulse with growing urgency. I know, sweetie. But we need to get you out of here, he said gently, brushing a few loose strands of hair from her face. That was just a bad moment, and I'm here now. Nothing is going to hurt you. But my friends, I'll make sure they're okay too. I promise. It meant everything to him that she felt safe and secure. In that moment, she was his world. Grabbing Mark's arm, he directed him toward the exit. We need to move. Call your dad if you can, so he can come get us. Mark nodded, but his eyes glimmered with worry. What is happening? They're saying an ambulance is on the way. I don't know, Jake replied, his voice low and steady, but inside, panic thrummed against his ribs. But we can't stay here. They navigated the chaos, Jake's heart heavy with dread. As they approached the exit, another blood-curdling scream fractured the air. The crowd shifted uneasily, parting like the Red Sea. Jake felt icy fingers lace through his spine. Jake! Mark shouted, stopping in his tracks. Over there. He gestured wildly, and Jake turned to see another figure, this time a woman, struggling to get through the crowd. There was a young boy clinging to her, wide-eyed, and she had blood on her hands, dark, sticky, and unmistakably real. Lily, cover your eyes. Jake commanded. He instinctively shielded her away and pulled her against him, the reality of the chaos striking home hard. Mark, get help. No. We can't leave you. Mark's panic was real, contagious. I'll be fine. Just go. Jake snapped, his mind racing through 100 different scenarios. As Mark sprinted off to find help, Jake felt a shudder run through him. His mind flipped through memories of birthday parties, laughter, and joy. But today was different. Today was a nightmare in daylight. Lily's voice quivered. I'm scared. He squeezed her tighter, pressing his cheek against the top of her head. I know, baby, I know. But I need you to remember something, you're the bravest girl I know. And I won't let anything happen to you. But inside, fear clawed at him. What if he couldn't protect her? Just then, the sirens pierced the air, and another shout echoed over the noise. Get out. Everyone, clear the area now. Jake clutched Lily's small hand tighter, leading her backward, away from the wave of panic. What lay ahead? Only uncertainty loomed. But one thing was clear, this was not over. As they retreated, Lily's grip tightened on him, and he felt her little body tremble. The world was unraveling, and he couldn't help but wonder what darker truths waited just beneath the surface. Jake's heart hammered as he maneuvered through the chaos, holding Lily close. The sirens wailed, a piercing reminder of the reality surrounding them. At that moment, everything felt surreal, like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. The laughter that had once filled the park was replaced by shouts and panic, and it felt as if the vibrant colors of the day had bled into a dull gray. "Stay with me," he whispered, burying his face into her hair, inhaling her familiar scent of innocence and joy. "We're going to be all right, I promise." He didn't just say it for her benefit, he needed to believe it himself. The weight of his past regrets loomed larger than ever, and he had to push back the darkness creeping in. "Daddy, what's happening?" she croaked, her voice lost between tremors of fear. Jake could see the faintest hint of tears pooling in her blue eyes. "Just some confusion, sweetheart. We just need to stay together," he said, forcing a hyper-focus on her. It was as if every fiber of his being was directed toward protecting her, shielding her from the chaos unraveling in front of them. Jake spotted Mark rushing through the crowd, a determined look etched in his features. "Over here." Mark called, his voice rising above the anxious cacophony. Jake instinctively tightened his grip on Lily. Watching Mark, he felt a strange mix of emotions swirl within him. He couldn't deny that he had wanted to push Mark away forever. But if there was a chance he could be someone different, could find redemption, then he had to be open to that possibility. They were all in this together now. "Everyone, please make way. Emergency personnel are coming through." A paramedic barked, and the crowd parted like the Red Sea. People stepped aside as uniform-clad responders flooded the area, their presence a beacon of hope in the swirling turmoil. "See, Lily. Help is here," Jake said, trying to reassure her despite his own doubts. She clutched his shirt, nodding but not fully convinced that as the emergency team rushed to tend to the woman on the ground, Jake's heart sank. The seriousness of the moment snapped his mind back to the fragile connections they made earlier in the park, connections he had taken for granted. All the laughter, joy, and simple comforts felt taunted by the starkness of the fragility surrounding them. In the back of his mind, the question lingered: how much more did he need to lose before he realized the real treasures in life? It was one birthday party, now turned disaster, but it was also a lesson unfolding in real time, a cosmic reminder that life was not just about existing in the moment but truly living within it. As they stepped close to the perimeter, a shadow fell over them. A medic approached with a soft smile. "You two okay?" he asked, and Jake noticed the warmth in his voice. "I think so," Jake managed to say, swallowing his fear. "Just scared." "You're doing what you need to do, keeping her safe." "Good job, Dad," the medic replied, and a flicker of pride ignited within him. "Can I see?" Lily piped up, her curiosity momentarily battling with her trepidation. "No, sweetheart," Jake said firmly but gently, kneeling to her level. "Not now. They're taking care of the lady who got hurt. You need to stay with me. Remember what I promised." The medic moved on, but his words resonated. "Daddy, could we help?" Lily asked, her innocent heart seeking ways to contribute amidst chaos. Jake's heart broke slightly at her unwavering kindness. "Just by being you," he said softly, wiping away the tears spilling over her cheeks. "That's enough." While the urgency of the situation pressed on around them, the realization sank deeper. It wasn't about the dazzling parties, or the corporate accolades, or keeping up appearances. It was about depth, about connection and community. The laughter intertwined with worry, the vulnerability revealed in the chaos, it all mattered. Mark returned, urgency in his step. "I spoke to a few parents, they're in shock but safe," he relayed, determination reflected in his eyes. "We should come together, we can't let fear tear us apart any longer." Jake surprised. himself with how easily he processed this new dynamic. "All right," he said, voice steady. "Lily and I were just thinking about how we can turn this chaos into something meaningful." "Like what?" Mark jabbed, eyebrows raised but somewhat curious. "A talent show," Lily beamed, her eyes sparkling through the remnants of her fear. "We can showcase what's beautiful, even if today started out bad." Jake felt a surge of warmth wash over him as the initial discomfort that had brewed between him and Mark fizzled. Perhaps this was the turning point, perhaps they were building something together instead of tethering themselves to past burdens. "Winner of the last act gets a surprise," Jake added, a bright grin on his face as he envisioned the idea taking off. Lily giggled, her laugh ringing clear against the backdrop. "Daddy! What surprise?" "You'll see," he replied, taking her hands gently and feeling a swell of joyful determination. Trading glances, Jake and Mark shared an understanding, a commitment to forge a different path. It was a path shaped by laughter, connection, and reflection. The park was recovering a little at a time, mischief dancing again in the bright colors of the evening. As laughter burbled back into existence, Jake winked at Lily. Maybe today was not just about confronting their fears but embracing new beginnings rooted in love and connection. That he stood, hand in hand with Lily, looking toward a future where joy swirled through the fabric of everyday life, a journey that would entangle them all. With clear skies above and laughter surrounding, they began moving back toward the celebrations. Today would be a reminder of resilience, the transformation of darkness into light, and the beginnings of hope. "Let us go find Charlie," Jake said, leading his daughter back into the heart of community and warmth. "Let us show everyone how we shine together." As they walked into the gathering crowd, he felt Mark by their side. A bond was forming between them, a bridge built on understanding. In this moment, he realized they all shared something bigger than any one of them, a love for their children and a commitment to nurture that love into a greater existence. Together, Jake smiled, glancing at both Lily and Mark with newfound clarity and assurance. "We're in this together." And that one simple truth echoing in his heart felt like a promise. It would guide them, anchor them, even in the midst of chaos. So here they were, a forever changing family, ready to face whatever came next with hope and unwavering love. Don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now and be the first to catch our next exclusive story. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and keep the inspiration coming your way. Comment your reactions and feelings about this journey below. Your voice matters. And absolutely, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support to our community. Let's grow together.